shouting, but no one is listening. You open your phone and it's just a barrage. Outrage, panic, accusation, instant reaction. It feels like the entire world is wired to keep you angry, or at least keep you anxious.
And the scary part? It works. We are tired, we are mentally exhausted, and we're starting to realize that this noise isn't just annoying, it's actually changing the way we think.
Today, we're talking about finding peace in a landscape designed for negativity. We're unpacking the mechanics of gaslighting, the psychology of reaction culture, and why choosing peace is actually the most rebellious thing you can do right now. I'm Jake, and this is The Deep Dive.
I'm joined by Rachel to break this down. Rachel, I think a lot of people feel this heaviness. It's not just politics or news anymore. It feels like a spiritual or psychological weight.
It absolutely is. And it's fascinating because we often treat this exhaustion like a personal failure, like, oh, I'm just too sensitive, or I need to toughen up. But when you look at the architecture of our modern communication, you realize this is a feature, not a bug. We are living in an ecosystem that monetizes high arousal emotions.
High arousal emotions, meaning anger, fear?
Exactly. Anger, fear, indignation, those are the emotions that drive engagement. If you look back at the history of social media, there's this pivotal moment around 2007 to 2009. Justin Rosenstein and a team of engineers created the like button. The intention was pure. They wanted to send little bits of positivity across the network. But what they accidentally created was a feedback loop of social validation that could be quantified.
Right, it turned conversation into a scoreboard.
And the algorithms learned very quickly that peace doesn't score points. Nuance doesn't go viral. What goes viral is conflict. So we've spent the last 15 years training our brains to react instantly to stimuli, rather than reflecting on it. We've moved from a culture of contemplation to a culture of reaction.
That distinction, reaction versus reflection, is something I want to drill down on. There was this outline from a creator, Pastor Frank, that sparked this whole conversation for us. He talked about how we've lost the art of waiting for the truth. That hit me hard. Why are we so bad at waiting?
It's physiological, Jake. When you see something that triggers you, a headline, a tweet, a video snippet, your amygdala, the threat detection center of your brain, lights up. It initiates a fight or flight response. This dumps cortisol and adrenaline into your system. Physiologically, your body is preparing to punch a tiger. But in reality, you're just sitting on your couch staring at a glowing rectangle.
So we're chemically primed to fight, but we have nowhere to put that energy except into the comments section.
Precisely. And here's the science that offers a solution. Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, a Harvard-trained neuroanatomist, talks about the 90-second rule. She explains that the chemical lifespan of an emotion, that surge of adrenaline and cortisol, only lasts about 90 seconds. If you feel anger, the chemicals flush through your system and are gone in a minute and a half.
Wait, really? Because I've definitely been mad for longer than 90 seconds.
We all have. But Dr. Taylor argues that anything felt after those 90 seconds is a choice. We re-stimulate the circuitry. We tell ourselves the story of why we're mad, we reread the comment, we vent to a friend, and that triggers a fresh wave of chemicals. We are chemically looping ourselves into a state of chronic outrage.
That is convicting. It suggests that reaction culture isn't just what the algorithm does to us, it's what we're doing to ourselves by refusing to pause.
It is, and that pause is where peace lives. Peace isn't the absence of the trigger, peace is the discipline of the pause. It's letting the 90 seconds pass so you can respond with your prefrontal cortex, the logical, empathetic part of your brain, rather than your lizard brain.
I want to pivot to another term that came up in our research for this, gaslighting. We usually hear this in the context of abusive relationships, someone making you question your own sanity. But how does that apply to the broader world, to the world of negativity we're talking about?
It's a term that gets thrown around loosely, but in a media context, gaslighting is about the systematic distortion of reality. It's when narratives are pushed so aggressively and with such repetition that you start to doubt what you saw with your own eyes. In the digital age, this happens through pluralistic ignorance.
Pluralistic ignorance?
It's when a majority of group members privately reject a norm, but incorrectly assume that most others accept it, and therefore go along with it. Online, a very small, very loud percentage of people can create the illusion of a consensus. You see thousands of likes on a hateful post and think, wow, everyone thinks this. But they don't. You're being gaslit by the metrics. The loud minority is distorting the reality of the quiet majority.
That's huge. It makes you feel isolated, which makes you more vulnerable. And the script we looked at mentioned that lies get repeated until they sound true. There's actual cognitive science behind that too, right?
Yes, it's called the illusory truth effect.
Research shows that if you repeat a false statement often enough, people will eventually rate it as more truthful than a new statement they haven't heard before. Familiarity breeds belief. So when we are doom scrolling, just exposing ourselves to the same toxic narratives over and over, even if we hate them, we are slowly eroding our resistance to them.
So let's talk about the antidote. If the poison is reaction, speed, and noise, what is the cure? The prompt we started with had this great line: peace is a choice, not a personality trait. I think a lot of people think you're either a chill person or you're not, but this frames it as a discipline.
It's absolutely a discipline. And I think we need to make a critical, theological, and practical distinction here: the difference between peacekeeping and peacemaking.
Break that down.
Peacekeeping is passive. It's avoidance. It's saying, I won't bring up this difficult topic because I don't want to rock the boat. It's suppression. Peacekeeping is fragile because the underlying tension is still there. You're just putting a lid on it. Peacemaking, on the other hand, is active. It's aggressive in a different way. It means entering the chaos to create order. It means addressing the conflict to resolve it, not just to win.
That sounds harder.
Much harder. Peacekeeping is staying silent. Peacemaking is speaking the truth, but speaking it without the intent to destroy the other person. There's a fantastic historical example of this: Daryl Davis.
Oh, the blues musician?
Yes, Daryl Davis is a black man who spent decades befriending members of the Ku Klux Klan. Talk about a world of negativity. He went into the darkest, most hateful environments imaginable, but he didn't go in to fight them physically, and he didn't go in to peacekeep and pretend everything was fine.
What was his approach?
Curiosity and presence. He would sit down with them and ask, how can you hate me when you don't even know me? He forced them to confront the humanity in front of them. He didn't react to their insults with immediate rage. He used that strategic patience we talked about. Over time, that cognitive dissonance, liking Daryl but hating black people, caused over 200 Klansmen to give up their robes. That is peacemaking. It's dismantling hate by refusing to play by hate's rules.
That's incredible, and it highlights something important. Peacemaking requires proximity. Social media gives us access, but it doesn't give us proximity. It's hard to dehumanize someone when you're sharing a meal, but it's very easy when they're just a username.
Exactly. Social media is a disembodied environment. We lose the tone of voice, the facial expressions, the hesitation, all the cues that generate empathy. When you strip those away, all that's left is the raw text, which we usually interpret in the worst possible light.
So, bringing this down to a practical level for our listeners, most of us aren't going to be attending Klan rallies to convert people, but we are facing that uncle on Facebook or that toxic comment section. How do we apply this peacemaker mindset daily?
It starts with boundaries. You have to curate your input. If you eat garbage, you feel sick. If you consume digital outrage for 3 hours a day, your spirit will be sick. You have to aggressively filter what enters your mind. That's not ignorance, that's hygiene.
I like that. Digital hygiene. What else?
The second thing is the pause. Use that 90-second rule. When you see something that makes your blood boil, physically put the phone down, walk away, let the chemicals flush. Then ask yourself, does my response bring peace or does it just add to the noise?
That question, does this add to the noise? It's a great filter. I think about the phrase reaction culture again. We're taught that silence is complicity, right? That if we don't post about everything immediately, we're bad people. But maybe silence is actually where the thinking happens.
There is a massive difference between silence born of cowardice and silence born of wisdom. We need more of the latter. We need people who are willing to wait for the facts. We need people who say, I don't know enough about this yet to have an opinion. That is a mark of maturity.
It's weirdly rebellious to say, I don't know in 2026.
Is, but that's where the hope lies. The prompt we looked at mentioned replacing bitterness with growth. Bitterness is drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. When you choose peace, you aren't letting the other person win. You're protecting your own soul from corrosion. You're securing your own ability to function, to love your family, to do your job.
And that ripples out, right? If I'm peaceful, my kids feel that. My partner feels that.
100%. Anxiety is contagious, but so is calm. This is known as co-regulation. If you walk into a chaotic situation and you remain grounded, your nervous system actually helps regulate the nervous systems of the people around you. You become a literal anchor in the room. That is the power of the peacemaker. You don't just experience peace, you export it.
That's a beautiful image. Exporting peace. It reminds me of the spiritual aspect of this. Regardless of where you stand religiously, there's a transcendent value in character, in being someone who can't be easily shaken.
And that character is built in the dark. It's built in those moments where you want to snap back,
but you don't. It's built when you choose to pray for someone who is attacking you, not because they deserve it, but because you refuse to carry the weight of hate. Hate is too heavy a burden to carry.
Rachel, this has been such a necessary conversation. I think if there's one takeaway, it's that we have agency. The algorithm suggests we are just leaves blowing in the wind of public opinion, but we can actually plant our feet.
We can. We can choose what we consume. We can choose how long we pause. And we can choose whether we are going to be reactors or creators. The world has enough noise. What it lacks is signal. Be the signal.
Be the signal. I love that. Thank you, Rachel. And to everyone listening, take a breath. Put the phone down for a bit today. Protect your peace. It's the most valuable asset you have.
If this conversation helped lower your blood pressure even a little bit, send it to a friend who might need a reset today.